Thank you all for joining us here at I-80 Sports, where today we are talking about the controversy in the Empire State, as well as other news and notes around the NHL. Thank you all for joining us here again at I-80 Sports. Make sure you check out our newly designed i80sports.com, where, if you want to check out some really cool merch like this awesome shirt, as well as maybe a comfortable beanie as well, you can find that at our shop at i80sports.com. We've even got some St. Patty's Day merch for your liking right now, so definitely make sure you hit up the shop for all of your I-80 Sports needs and desires. And also make sure you hit us up on Twitter at I80_sportsNHL. I'm Brian. He's Tom. Yo, switcheroo. Tom, how are you doing today?
Well, other than this new angle I'm working from this week, I'm not real happy. I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little PO'd. And you guys are all going to find out why as this episode goes on. I am not in a good mood today. I'm wound up. I'm upset. And you'll all find out why as we go through your show.
I think he's also not very happy because now he has to grow a beard thanks to that Facebook post. So, Tom, we're looking forward to that playoff beard coming soon. But that's not going to be the only reason why he's upset today. But let's start with some really good stuff first. Let's talk about some social awareness right now. I have a special, and Tom and I, rather, have a special guest for this week to talk about some really important things that this person is doing in the hockey community. His name is Tolik Bortz, and he is going to be here to talk to us about an organization that he currently runs. So without further ado, Tolik, welcome to our I-80 Sports. So tell us a little bit about what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So my brother, my wife, and myself, we formed a non-for-profit organization at the peak of the pandemic last March. What we started doing was initially just simply creating face masks for hospitals and essential workers and frontline employees out of like New York Rangers T-shirts and jerseys, and started donating them as well as selling them to fans. Some of the NHLers took notice, where we had the wonderful opportunity to donate them to the actual New York Rangers team, where they were featured on TV, and as well as all of the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on the Rangers site. So we kind of took it from there, and we launched a non-for-profit program. It is mainly derived through the children communities, through our beloved sport of hockey. What we do is we collect secondhand sports equipment, mainly hockey again, from rinks, and donate them to underprivileged families and underserved communities. And we raise funds for families that can't afford or aren't fortunate enough to afford those seasons for registration and cost fees for hockey. As you guys know, fast children grow out of hockey equipment and how expensive they could be, especially goalie equipment. We formulated some amazing partnerships early on to begin with. So we're off to a pretty good start, but we're staying humble and still working. We're currently working with Adam Graves through his foundation. We're helping out in 2022 with Mark Messier's Kingbridge Ice Facility in the Bronx there. Some ex-NHLers like Ron Duguay, Matthew Barnaby, the list goes on, but we're kind of staying ideal to our beliefs and our work ethic here. But yeah, we kind of began to reach out into the communities and really donate this equipment. We most recently partnered up with the Hockey Foundation. This organization, they take in hockey equipment. Let me say this in a rather in a nicer way, from the more privileged rinks, and take this equipment and ship it out overseas. But with all these COVID restrictions that are going on now, there's no shipments going out. So they partner up with us, and they donated 10 pallets of children's hockey equipment, which we had. Yeah, we rented a 26-foot truck. I've never driven a truck like that in my life. Drove it up to Hudson, New York. And you can imagine 10 pallets of new and secondhand sports equipment to and it's currently against my wife's wishes. It's currently in my 2-car garage right now, waiting to be distributed in the Northeast region and the tri-state area. So yeah, we're kind of we're happy about that. But again, the hardest part is not to actually collect the equipment; it's to distribute it. So we're looking for families that are in need of this equipment for their children, mainly the after-school programs, extracurricular activities, and obviously ice hockey facilities as well.
Dude, that is so amazing, like, what you're doing. Like, this helps, like, so many people beyond just, like, the message you've created for, like, entire hospitals and sports facilities, but also giving to children that wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to play a sport just because of they don't have the money to do so. That is so amazing in making, hockey more accessible to, the underprivileged. That's amazing. So I guess, the follow-up question to that is, how can people find you? How can people, donate?
So just like your cool merch, we were also recently donated some merchandise as well. So that's the name of our organization, ALTRUNITE.com. It is Ultranite. That word is derived from the word altruism or altruist. It's an individual or group of people unselfishly concerned for the welfare of others. So that is what we are. We are caring and giving individuals within the community. We're altruists. We take in what others don't have, and we distribute it in a humble manner. So it is Ultranite, ALTRUNITE, and I see you put that up on the screen. Thank you so very much. We are across all 3 social media platforms, most prevalent on Facebook, but obviously as well as Instagram and Twitter. And my kids also just recently forced me to open up one of those cool video TikTok accounts, which is working pretty good for us as well. So, yeah.
Well, TikTok has worked out quite a bit as well for us as well. Yeah. And certainly, we will absolutely put your message out there. And to all of our listeners out there, the website's down below. You got to try to, if you have anything laying around your house, anything that you're not using right now that somebody absolutely will use, please consider donating. It can change somebody's life. It can really completely reshape, the everyday life of somebody else, just the littlest of gestures. But before I let you go, Tolik, any last words for your organization?
Same as goes in, goes out. If anybody's in the need of any equipment, if anybody knows of a family or an ice facility, or families that are going back to work and kids are coming back into these programs after these COVID restrictions, feel free to reach out to us, shoot us an email, contact us on social media. It's always great to take in donations for these hockey seasons for these kids, for parents who haven't been working throughout this, year and a half or so. But same way as it goes out, if anybody knows of anybody that needs assistance, feel free to reach out to us. We're mostly hockey derived, but eventually we will get out. We will get out into other industries such as art, performing arts, and dance. So we're going to try to cultivate and circulate around anything to do with children's facilities. But like I said, if anyone needs any help, we're more than happy to take donations and, of course, to help our organization. But we're more than happy to help any family in need as well. So thank you.
Oh, that's like I said, and I can't even stress it enough. It's so awesome what you're doing for the community, and certainly what your family has done so far. Tom, any words on this as well? I don't mean to be leaving you in the dark on this.
No, don't worry. I'm saving my voice for all the anger I'm going to get out later on. So, no, it's a great thing you're doing, man. I looked at your website. I saw the mask that you guys have made, and it's just a great thing. I'll check it around here to any rinks that I play at. I live down in the Middletown area. I actually live in Keyport now, but I live near the Middletown rink, Woodbridge, Red Bank. I'll check around, see if any of the guys that skate with have kids looking to get rid of stuff. I may have a couple of things too at my parents' house I got to go look for, but definitely a great thing you're doing, and I hope to see you on the ice again soon. Just not negative 18 degrees with wind coming off the Hudson
River. Yeah. Tom and I played in the Bear Mountain on the outdoor arena together. We froze our butts off, but you know what? It was pretty fun. It was Bear Mountain. I came dressed in a bear costume, so we had a little fun with that. It was terribly cold, but to tell you the truth, at the same token, it was so much fun.
No, it was a great time.
It was.
And I'll definitely be joining you guys. Oh, of course. And I'll definitely be joining you guys once I'm fully vaccinated and got things going. And, that's what I'm going to be joining you guys on the ice again. So certainly, needs to happen sooner rather than later. But Tolik, thank you so much for coming on. And guys, I'm going to put that website out there just one more time. Make sure you hit up ultranight.com, as well as hit them up on Twitter, on Instagram, TikTok, all social media platforms. And like I said, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, boys, so much. It means the world to us if we could reach any family. So we really appreciate for having us on. Thank you, Brian and Tom.
No problem.
Thank you, Tolik. Thank you for coming on. So, guys, make sure you hit up ultranight.com. It's a great organization. Any little bit helps. But moving on, we're going to go quickly through our NHL news just to get into the real meat of what's going on, because we got quite a bit to talk about. It's funny because, going into this week, I didn't think we were going to have a lot to talk about. And then this weekend happened, and holy moly, a lot to talk about. So let's start with the top of the weekend. So we had our Saturday outdoors game between the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights. And the people at Lake Tahoe forgot the sun existed. And, well, sun melts ice. Anybody that took, science actually remembered that. Tom, is it a shock to you that the game got delayed?
It's not a shock to me. In the past, just about every single outdoor game was delayed. The three that I had gone to, well, not the third one. The third one I was at was Rangers Islanders. That was at night, so obviously, at night it's not so much of a worry. But when I was down in Philly in 2012 for Rangers Flyers and was at Yankee Stadium in 2014 for Rangers Devils, both games were delayed just, due to the conditions outside, It was even cloudy for the Ranger Devil game, and they had problems with the ice because it was so early in the day. Now, I can understand that when the NHL delayed it at those times, it was in stadiums, the people were going to watch the game. They were going to still make the revenue back. With this Lake Tahoe situation, granted, putting it back on at midnight was not a good look. Probably nobody watched it. I watched it because I went and played that night and just said, what the hell? I got home and said, I got nothing else to do when I'm wide awake. Why didn't I watch a hockey game? Because what else are you going to do on a Saturday night when you got nothing better to do? But to start it at midnight, I don't think that was a good look. I don't really know what was the conflicting programming was with NBC that night. They don't do college basketball. Football's obviously over. It really is kind of like a dead time of year under COVID circumstances. And if we didn't have COVID, under normal circumstances, this is kind of a dead time of year. So that part, I guess, didn't make any sense to me. But I guess they just wanted to be extra sure that it was dark out for a while for the ice to harden. And I can understand why they wanted to do both games during the day. You wanted that beautiful backdrop of the mountains, of the lake. Just, great backdrop to be playing outdoor hockey like Mystery Alaska-esque, I'm sure you've all seen them. If you haven't, you want to check it out. But it just, it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. What they should have done was maybe it seemed like they built that rink kind of late. What they should have maybe done was get up there a little bit earlier and let it sit like during days where there was sun. And now they know to do that if they ever do it again. But I think that was the thing, too. It was just that they rushed it. They thought that it would, they wanted the beautiful backdrop during the games, and unfortunately they didn't get it. And then, of course, last night they had it during the Bruins-Flyers game. But, of course, when the sun went down, you can't see anything except those three big trees on the side of the rink. And it also didn't help that the Boston-Philly game was a complete blowout. Had they done that Colorado game last night, I think it would have been a little more exciting because at least that one was close. But the one last night was a total blowout. I turned it off in the third period.
Yeah, that was a rough game for Philadelphia against Boston on Sunday night. Getting blown out 7-3, David Pastrnak with the hat trick. David Pastrnak, who has scored quite a few goals over the course of 82 games, over a course of a legitimate NHL season. He is somebody to keep your eye on over the course of the next month or so as a guy who could maybe give an Austin Matthews a run for his money on goals, but he's a person that we're going to talk about a little bit more later. I'll save talks on Austin Matthews for later when we want to be happier. But to sum up with the Lake Tahoe game on Saturday and on Sunday, it was a beautiful sight, and the ice looked gorgeous. The scenery, magnificent, breathtaking, awe-inspiring, but it's unfortunate that they just got a really warm weekend for it. It's just, there's no other ways about it. And I think the NHL should consider maybe putting these outdoor games maybe more up north, go to like the Minnesota area, go to maybe even in Canada where you know that the temperatures are going to be a little bit better for the ice conditions. But those are my 2 cents. If I worked for the NHL, I wouldn't be here right now. So it's all good. Keep it on the quick. Trevor Zegras, big time prospect for the Anaheim Ducks, recently called up, and Adam Henrique in turn was placed on waivers. Now, this was kind of eye-opening when it happened on Saturday, though. Here's the thing. Adam Henrique cleared waivers. There was talks that maybe a team that needed center help was going to swoop in and maybe try to pick up Adam Henrique, who has been a reliable center in the league. Didn't happen. Then, over the weekend, Franz Nielsen was placed on waivers by the Detroit Red Wings. There's some rumors kind of turning up a little bit on maybe a contract swap that might go on in the near future between Anaheim and Detroit, sending Adam Henrique's big contract out of Anaheim and Franz Nielsen's contract out of Detroit. Tom, do you buy any of this, or do you think this is just a pure roster move, just trying to buy time for the younger guys to kind of get their time in?
I think it's like maybe a pure roster move. And I mean, what I don't understand is, unless Franz Nielsen wants nothing to do with Detroit and Adam Henrique wants nothing to do with Anaheim, both of these teams are bottom feeders right now. It's not like swapping anybody is going to make one team better or one team worse or one team go for a playoff push. They're both probably not going to make the playoffs. They're both bottom feeding teams. I mean, if they want to do it just purely from neither player wants to be there anymore standpoint, okay, but I don't really buy a lot into it, to tell you the truth. Zegras coming up as a plus for Anaheim. It is time to start getting this kid some minutes. As we've watched in the World Juniors the last 3 years, he can play. Very good player, and it's time for him to start making his journey into the professional ranks here. I mean, he was doing some time in the AHL. So it's a nice call up by them for that. I know it's unrelated to what we just spoke about, but still, good move by Anaheim calling him up.
Yeah, good move by Anaheim calling up Trevor Zegras. Certainly, if you guys got the chance to watch him at the World Juniors Tournament, you know the caliber of prospect that Trevor Zegras is. And he is a player that could make a significant impact at the NHL level once he has fully developed as a prospect. Prospects take time to develop. They all, take different times to make their impact at the NHL level. And something that, once again, we're alluding to a little bit later for what Tom wants to talk about a little bit more later. But some players take some time to develop. If you're an Anaheim fan, Trevor Zegras isn't necessarily producing right from the beginning, don't freak out. Breathe and let it go and let him play, because that's all prospects really need to do. They just need their time to play, earn their stripes, and go about it and be the star that they can inevitably be. Speaking of being the stars that they could inevitably be, we've got some stars to talk about. And Tom, it's time to raise that blood pressure, dude. So, you ready for this?
But it depends what star we're talking about, too.
All right, let's start with the one that doesn't hit as close to home right now for you. So, this segment is called Controversy in the Empire State, mostly because, well, we're not just talking about New York City right now. We're also talking about the state of New York right now. And we have to check the temperature on Jack Eichel right now for Buffalo. Now, let's give some context. Why are we talking about Jack Eichel right now? Why are we talking about one of the biggest stars in the NHL? Well, there's some talks that he may want out, especially with how Buffalo has been performing right now. So here's some context to this, as we normally give you. It was hinted previously back in 2017 when Dan Bylsma was fired, was fired, that maybe he wanted out. But then he turns around and signed a big $10 million a year deal. A deal he even said he wasn't sure he deserved. He wasn't sure if he was meant to be making that much, to be on such a long-term contract like that, to really, do that yet. He again hinted over the course of this past offseason with a quote saying, "I'm fed up with the losing, and I'm fed up and I'm frustrated." And that's a direct quote from Jack Eichel. So, obviously, the Pegula family, who owns the Buffalo Sabres turned around and said, you know what? We got to start building around Jack Eichel, which is probably something they should have done a couple of years ago in hindsight. But, better late than never. So what did they do? They went out and they got the biggest free agent from this past year, Taylor Hall. And there's the idea that Buffalo wants to keep Taylor Hall around long term. And certainly, if you don't end up keeping Jack Eichel, it doesn't really make much sense to keep Taylor Hall around if you're going to try to blow it up. And, along with Taylor Hall, you got two centers in the upcoming draft in 2022 that are predicted to go top 2. Here's the thing. If you let loose Eichel for one of those top 2 picks, you could get a fresh start with maybe one of these 1 or 2 centers in the upcoming draft. But is it really going to happen? Do we think Jack Eichel's really going to get dealt? Is he the big chip that's going to fall in Buffalo? Tom, what are your thoughts?
I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think that they may move him out. I really do. They tried this offseason, bringing in Taylor Hall, bringing in Eric Staal, but it just doesn't seem to be working up there. It also doesn't help that they're playing in a strong division, whether we're in the alignment this year or whether we're in the alignment in a normal year. The division they're in is not good. It's just, it's not good. Let me rephrase that. It is good. It's just they don't fit in well in it when you have teams like the Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, for example, in the Atlantic. And now this year you have the Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers, Washington Capitals, Pittsburgh Penguins, who have been kind of a seesaw team. You have them too. It's not, it doesn't help them because they can't seem to get any leverage and have any weak teams, in order to play against. At this point, with him being fed up with what's going on in Buffalo, with them maybe wanting to keep Hall around and get rid of him to try and maybe get Shane Wright or Matthew Savoy in 2022, I could see them moving him. The Rangers have been rumored. The LA Kings have been rumored. But it really depends who can take on the contract. It's very similar to John Tavares at the end of his term, at the end of his run in Long Island. The difference was he was a free agent. He could go wherever he wanted to go. And I guess a little bit of a difference here, too, is that unlike the Islanders, the Sabres actually did try to make an effort here. It just so happens that they just got stuck in a good division where you're only playing your division rivals this year and you don't really have anything to build on. They're not winning a lot of games. So the unfortunate part is I'm not sure how much longer he will be there. I'm really not sure. And I'm really not sure where he'll go. And I'm not sure with the return they'll get if it'll even be worth it. Because if you look at some of the deals over the years with guys who have been traded, the returns have not been that great. I mean, if you even go back 20 years ago to that Jaromir Jagr deal when Gretzky was shipped off to St. Louis from L.A., the returns are usually, when you're shipping a superstar out, the returns are it usually gets to a point where it's like we have to take this bad returner because we have no other choice. So we'll see what happens. And in Buffalo's mind, and I just thought of this too, maybe they want to do with Taylor Hall what the Devils couldn't when they had Jack Hughes. Maybe they want to keep Taylor Hall there. And if they are so lucky to get a guy like Shane Wright or Matthew Savoy, bring them in to play center and have Hall on their wing, have Hall be their mentor like the Devils had planned to do with Hughes, but it just never worked out. Maybe in Buffalo's mind, they're saying, wait, let's try to do what New Jersey couldn't. That's just another thing that popped in my head. How true it is, who knows? There's
always the possibility, and there's always going to be rumors surrounding any player at any point when a team isn't performing well. Hell, there were rumors around Sidney Crosby when the Penguins were still not doing very well. There was rumors swirling around that Crosby could be dealt out of Pittsburgh in the early 2010s. And ultimately, nothing came of it. There's always been rumors that have gone around about players. And with this one, I think it's tough. I think there's a lot of, wash that you have to get through to really find the truth. The truth is, Jack Eichel is frustrated. That is evidently clear. He is tired of losing in Buffalo. He's tired of having a subpar team. Granted, this year's tough. This Eastern Division is a very, very competitive division that he's playing in. You've got teams that are outperforming them right now. The Devils are outperforming them right now. They're playing a better hockey game overall than them right now, even though Buffalo might be more talented on paper in some cases. But that being said, I think in this case, Eichel needs to give things time. This is a team that's not that far away. And I think for Buffalo fans, you need to lower the panic index a little bit. You're in a dry spell. You've got some issues, sure. But I'm not fully convinced it's totally on the players here. I'm not totally convinced that dumping a Jack Eichel for a king's ransom is the answer here. I'm not sure if hitting the restart button in general is the answer. I think this is a team that can still perform at some point. I think a lot more questions need to be addressed. Like, is this the right coaching staff? Are they running their power play the right way? Are they running their penalty kill the right way? Are they running their offense the right way where Jack Eichel can currently succeed? I think these are questions that need to be answered. So I'm not fully convinced that Jack Eichel is going to be on his way out of town yet, but certainly if this team does not start performing soon, we could hear these rumors in the offseason and with much more force, especially with an expansion draft on the horizon. Trades get crazier at that point. It's been known to happen. PK Subban got shipped out of Nashville the year that Vegas came in. So crazy things can happen. But let's check the index now. In this case, the blood pressure index for Tom here. Let's move on to who he really wants to talk about. The bombshell that happened today, Artemi Panarin. So, Artemi Panarin, he has taken a leave of absence from the New York Rangers. For how long? Nobody knows. He needs some time for himself at the moment. So here's the story. Story time. A story in Russia came out from Andrei Nazarov claiming that Panarin beat up a girl in a bar in Latvia 10 years ago and then offered her 40,000 euros to keep her quiet. This was believed to be planted by Vladimir Putin and Nazarov after Artemi Panarin has openly criticized Vladimir Putin over the weekend as well as over the past year. He's been very, very vocal about Putin's power in Russia and his abuse of power in Russia. There's no secret about that. The whole situation right now is a mess. Nazarov has been known to be a big, big supporter of Vladimir Putin. And former NHL and KHL player TJ Galliardi was threatened to have North American players arrested if they spoke badly about Russia or Putin. And this has been a rumor that has been going around for about 7 years now, but rumors are that this is actually what led Ilya Kovalchuk to retire back in the early 2010s from the NHL, because Vladimir Putin, quite frankly, was putting pressure on Kovalchuk's family, and Kovalchuk needed to be home to get the heat off. Nazarov has been known to draw controversy to himself in the past. In 2011, he attacked fans with a stick while coaching. I am so sorry if I mispronounced.
Vityaz, I guess that's how you say it. I'm not Russian.
Vityaz. I'm going to say Vityaz in this case. Yeah. And in 2015, he assaulted an opposing team doctor while with berries, among other things. So, top Russian journalist Igor Aranko is saying this is completely false. Like, the narrative here is completely false. And others are saying that Panarin wasn't even in Latvia when Nazarov said he did this. Latvian reporter Alvis Kalinins is also saying he spoke to the hotel and bar staff who were working there at the time. According to them, no such event ever happened. Aranko also just posted after speaking with Panarin's Vityaz teammates. At the time, they also agree that this is a false claim. You now have the New York Rangers earlier this afternoon that announced his leave of absence, but also have taken Panarin's side on this ordeal, vehemently denying any of these rumors. Now, it's a lot to unpack with this. There's a lot to think about with this. Was this a waiting for the right moment to drop a story like this in this case? Was this a plant? Is this a sabotage? Are there politics being played here? So, Tom, I'm going to give you the floor on this one because I know you have a lot to say.
Well, I think that this is totally false. All this is false. This guy, Andrei Nazarov, he's got a real problem, this guy. And unfortunately, he's one of Putin's cronies, too. So Putin's a big hockey guy. He's one of the guys in the hockey world who praises Vladimir Putin. So now, they figured, okay, Putin saw Panarin disgracing. He probably went to him and said, you coached him. What can we do about it? And he made stuff up. This guy, Nazarov, has been a known liar. He's done some other things like flip off fans. When one of his players lost in a fight, he threw a water bottle at the other team's bench. He was accused of punching a ref in the face after a game a few years ago. If this guy was in North America, he would have been banned from this sport for life. But because he's a Putin supporter and he lives in Russia, he can do whatever the hell he wants. This is wrong. You don't do this. I'm sorry. This is wrong. And the problem with that over there is this. He forced Kovalchuk back. Ovechkin bows down to this guy like he's a god. And Panarin speaks out against him, and they plant this. And now Panarin has to go take a leave of absence because of this. And the reason he's taking a leave of absence, he's got to protect his family here. From what I read, most of his family is here in the United States. He moved most of them here, but he still has a set of grandparents in Russia that now he's probably going to have to figure out how to get out of there. Because I got a funny feeling something may that he's fearing something may happen to them. The whole thing is a mess. The whole thing is a mess, and to even further that takes our best player as a Ranger fan. It takes our best player out of the lineup. He's been our best player all season. He's been what's making this team go. He was the big reason why they won these last 2 games in a row. Now we don't have him anymore because it is BS. It's not right. It's just not right. And unfortunately, because of Nazarov and because even what Ovechkin said today, and what Ovechkin said today made me want to punch a hole in a wall. I was in the post office. I almost threw my phone at the wall when I read it. Ovechkin said, Panarin's basically saying, life wasn't so bad for me. I don't know how his family had it. His family didn't have it good. You ever read about Artemi Panarin? He grew up in a freaking shack. He didn't have it so good. I mean, I don't know how good the Ovechkins had it. I don't know if they were royalty, but if they had it a little bit better, great. But, to have Ovechkin come and say that, and I understand that Putin's a nut, but to have Ovechkin come and say that degrading stuff about Panarin just angered me even more. And I over the years, I never was a big Ovechkin fan, but I started gaining a little more respect back for him. But now I just lost any bit of respect I had for Alex Ovechkin. Any bit of respect I had.
To be fair, on the Ovechkin side of things, he also could have the gun against his head saying, he is very nice, man. I never had issue. Can you get the barrel off my head, please? It could be one of those situations also. It's tough to say what happens, but yeah, it's not a good look from Ovechkin's standpoint either to not be helpful to his, fellow superstar in the NHL and be supportive of what he's currently going through. It's not a great look. That being said, my 2 cents on the whole matter, this is a sabotage. This is a pure smear campaign in my eyes. I mean, to play devil's advocate, sure, this could be a case of, if Panarin is guilty in this case, because this is a very serious situation. We're talking about some very serious allegations here. If these rumors are true, certainly, our thoughts and condolences go out to the woman who was victimized in this case. But that being said, I don't know. I have a hard time believing any of this, especially when politics are involved in this case. It's a big gray area that's brought up in this case that I don't think we have all the answers to this. And I think Artemi Panarin is doing the right thing by taking a leave of absence to sort this mess out. He does not want to play with this lingering over his head. No player should. And no player should be put in this situation to begin with. This is an awful situation on every frame. In Russia, America, this is awful all around. And certainly I hope this whole entire mess is just sorted with and done and over with, because this is a bombshell. And this is not something that Artemi Panarin wants following him. If it is a smear campaign, shame on Nazarov, because this is reprehensible. If this is true, which I doubt. I'm personally going out there and I'm going to say I doubt it. Based on what I read, I see red flags. If it is true, reprehensible on Panarin's part. But like I said, I don't see the proof, and I don't see anything that can make me believe that this is true. But certainly I hope this is all sorted out soon. We're going to be giving you updates as, the week goes on with this, because this is going to be something that's going to be followed very heavily in the hockey world. This is not going to be the last that you hear of this entire situation. But we're going to move right along right now. I think Tom wants to be a little bit happier at this point, to say the least. So, as per usual, we are entering our team fandom's realms. So, as you know, Tom, why do I keep pointing this wrong way? Tom, that way. There we go. Got my lefts from my rights sorted out. Tom is a diehard Rangers fan to his detriment. I am a diehard Devils fan to my detriment. So let's check and see how our favorite teams did this week. One of these weeks, I'm going to learn English, and it's going to be magnificent. So let's check in on Tom's Rangers realm. So let's dive into that Rangers realm, Tom.
Okay, but before I start, I want to address one more thing with the Panarin situation. And this is just purely hypothetical and me just thinking like an idiot. The funniest part about this would be if he comes back, gets himself full U.S. citizenship, and is putting on a U.S. jersey at the Olympics next year. Imagine him and Austin Matthews together. I'll get into Austin Matthews later in the show like I seemingly always do, but it's just a thought that crossed my mind. It probably will never happen. He probably won't play at all in the Olympics next year, but it would be just funny if he wound up playing for if Artemi Panarin played for the U.S. next year in the Olympics. That would just be the ultimate dagger for them. But I don't want to say it anymore because I don't know who's listening in on this, and you guys might never see me again after this week. Hopefully not. But anyways, let's go on to the Rangers. Last Tuesday against the Devils, a decent effort, but just a bad game. They couldn't find the back of the net. The Devils the Devils who hadn't played in 2 weeks, embarrass the Rangers, embarrass them on their home ice. Against the Flyers, I still didn't really like how they played either, but it got a little bit better. They won in a shootout with, Kakko potted one and Artemi Panarin potted one. I keep going back to him. I don't want to go back to him. I keep getting mad with just thinking about this thing, but it was an okay effort. And then we go into D.C. on Saturday, where, of course, Panarin had a great game. But you know what? Zibanejad finally found the back of the net. Lafreniere finally found the back of the net. And there's a little bit of an elephant in the room here that I want to address with Alexei Lafreniere, because I was arguing with people during the game on Saturday who just don't seem to understand this situation that's going on with him. He's a rookie, a 19-year-old kid. He's playing on the third line and don't get me wrong, it's not a knock on Brett Howden or Colin Blackwell, not a knock on them at all. But he's playing with guys whose roles are to be checkers. It doesn't help that Philip Heedle's out. It doesn't help that because of this whole COVID thing, we can't have Vitaly Kravtsov here. Again, I can guarantee you, if we were under normal circumstances, Vitaly Kravtsov would have been over and would be playing for the Rangers right now. Hopefully, we have him later on in the season. But I want to explain to these people that Lafreniere, they say, send him to Hartford to get his confidence up. I want to explain that because he's under the age of 20, he cannot go to Hartford. There's a rule with Canadian junior players. The rule was amended this year for certain players. But for Lafreniere's case, he can't do it because he plays in the Quebec League. The Quebec League has been playing all year like it's a normal year. So if Lafreniere were to be sent down, he cannot go to Hartford. He'd have to go back to Rimouski. If he were to go back to Rimouski, he'd have to quarantine in Quebec for 2 weeks doing nothing and then get back out on the ice. They think sending him down will help him. Doing that is only going to hurt him. It's not going to help him. Has he looked great? No, but he's going to look better and better. He's going to figure this out. And people bring up other rookies like Joe Thornton and Steven Stamkos. They had bad starts, and the Bolts almost gave up on Stamkos, and Stamkos almost wound up a Ranger. I wish he did, but if Stamkos did wind up a Ranger, I wouldn't be talking about Lafreniere right now because he'd probably be playing someplace else. But I want to talk about another guy who came into New York and had a little bit of a rough start. And he wasn't a rookie. He was a veteran. His name was Marty St. Louis. St. Louis only had one goal through his first handful of games as a Ranger. And then when the playoffs started in 2014, he tore it up. And I guarantee you in 2014, without Marty St. Louis, the Rangers don't go to the finals. My fans, my fellow Ranger fans, patience with this kid. He will be fine. Another guy I want to address, Kako, the kid can't seem to catch a break, man. He looked great against the Flyers. Our best player on the ice. He was carrying that play, carrying the game. Then he gets put on the COVID list. And now, the one time he got put on the COVID list, he was only down for a game. Quinn was asked today, what's going on with Kako? He's fine, but I can't say anymore. I don't know what's happening with Kako. I know his diabetes make him a higher risk. I just hope he's okay, and I hope he's back out there again, because now with this depth with Panarin being out, with Hedl being hurt, Kako being gone, we really need to have Kako back. And I want to just harken back to Lafreniere real quick. With Panarin out, this is Lafreniere's time to shine. This is his time to really step it up. He's going to be playing top 6 minutes, power play time. He's going to get all of that. So it's time for him. And as much as I'm not against him, it's time for him to step it up a little bit too. One more guy I want to address before I'm done here is Mika Zibanejad. I just don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. He had the empty netter on Saturday, but it just every time he gets the puck, it looks like his confidence shot. He can't hold on to the puck. You know, his skating's gotten a little bit better, but just every time he gets a pass, it's like his hands have cement in them. I don't know what's going on with Zibanejad. I hope it's nothing serious. And whatever it is, I hope it gets better soon, because we really need him, and we really need Lafreniere to pick it up. With Panarin being gone for who knows how long, and Kako also being gone for who knows how long.
Yeah, there's going to be some good things that come out of the playing time for Lafreniere, and I think it will help sort things out. Mika Zibanejad does need to get it going for the Rangers. That is starting to become a concern, and I know he can do it. He's done it before, but yeah, I'm done talking about the Rangers myself. How about we exit the Rangers realm and let's hop into my Devil's Den, which I changed real quick because, and we'll get into why I'm wearing this jersey in a little bit, and finally got my reverse retro, and I had it last week, but I just didn't mention it. But man, what a great comeback this week for the Devils. They look like they haven't missed a beat whatsoever. And despite their record this week, I'm really, really happy with what I saw for the most part. There's some things that we need to address as well. Here's the thing. The weekend was rough for the Devils. There's no doubt about it. They played, close games no matter what, which that's the biggest thing to take away from this. Every loss has been in close games. It hasn't been blowouts for the Devils, which has been fantastic. This is a different Devils team. They have not gotten blown out much because they have a faster paced offensive game. They have defensemen that are playing deeper in the zones, which is helpful for these offensive defensemen. PK Subban potted one this weekend, which was huge. And, he's having a significantly better season than he did last year. And that is just great to see. Ty Smith, he's a current Calder Trophy contender at the moment, which is fantastic. He looks like he's been playing NHL defense for years. He looks so comfortable out there now. Severson looks great as well. But, defensemen are all well and good, but when you got a guy like Mackenzie Blackwood in net, holy moly, how good has Mackenzie Blackwood been? And I've been singing his praises for years now. And it boggles my mind that finally the NHL has noticed, hey, Blackwood's a good player. Just like, duh, he's in the same league as Carter Hart. They're literally separated by a year. They're in that same, elite youngster status. And the NHL is finally realizing that. Brian Boucher tweeted this weekend saying, okay, I was wrong about Mackenzie Blackwood. You guys need to seriously watch Mackenzie Blackwood from now on. That's a big praise. And hopefully the rest of the NHL starts to notice this, because he has stolen some games away from other teams. He is really coming into his own. He is going to be a fantastic goaltender for years to come. Kyle Palmieri came back in a big way this week as well, potting 3 goals, which was huge. He is back for sure. He looks a lot more comfortable now. And since coming back, he has hit the ground running, and he will continue to hit that ground and just keep going. Don't give Kyle Palmieri an inch. He'll take 10 miles out of you. With all of the good things that were mentioned, we do need to mention the bad, though, because the Devils' penalty kill has been atrocious at best this season. and they're currently dead last in the league in penalty kill, falling below 65%. Now, the past 3 years, 2018, sorry, math. 2018, they finished 7th in penalty kill. 2019, they finished 4th in the NHL in penalty kill. Last year, they finished 8th in the league in penalty kill. This is not a Devils team that normally sits near the bottom half of the league in penalty kill. This is not a team that for the past 20 years has sat near the bottom of the league in penalty kill. This is jarring for Devils fans. And Lindy Ruff, I think, addressed it best and said, we need to be more confident. We cannot second guess our decisions when on the ice. And he wasn't just talking about the decisions by the players. It's also the coaching decisions as well. So he's taking ownership for it as well. So I'll be interested to see what changes will be made this week, because he said the same thing about the power play a couple weeks ago. And lo and behold, the power play has done a lot better over the course of this return. I was impressed with how much more cleaner the power play has looked. Yeah, we're not necessarily converting on every opportunity, but they look more confident in the offensive zone. That same confidence needs to be spread in their defensive zone when they're on the penalty kill, because they're letting some players just stand in front of Blackwood with nobody pressuring him. And I need to see more defensemen pushing bodies out of the way, getting and eliminating screens at any point. It needs to happen. I'm not sure for those Devils fans that are calling for Elaine Nasruddine's head, who is the assistant coach. I don't know if that's the answer. I don't think you do that in the middle of the season. I think if you're going to consider a coaching change, wait until the end of the season. This is also a person who is very well respected and well liked within the Devils locker room. So doing something like that midseason could turn the locker room. This is something that you don't want to necessarily do with a group that's gelling together very well and playing well together and has very good chemistry together. You don't want to take somebody out of that room that's beneficial in this case. But the Devils, also turned the page in this chapter, eliminated COVID behind them, and also got back a very important player this week in Nico Hischier, who this week was named the 12th captain in Devils history. That's also why I'm wearing this jersey, because on my back is Nico Hischier, and I'm realizing I'm going to need that captaincy on my jersey now, and it couldn't be more well-deserved. He plays a very mature game, and he will certainly be a future award winner in this league. I think he is a player who is due to break out in a big way soon, and he is going to prove exactly why he was picked number 1 overall back in 2017. He is going to be one of those late blooming type of players. And fun fact, he becomes the youngest current captain in the NHL at 22 years old. I'm actually curious for Tom real quick on this one. I got a little bit of Devils trivia for you because I don't know if you can name it, because we've had some obscure captains over the past, 3 captains. Name the previous 3 Devils captains if you can.
Bryce Salvador.
Okay.
One of them.
He was in the middle. Was Andy Green a captain? Yep, that was the most recent captain. Who was the captain right before Bryce Salvador?
Right before Bryce Salvador. That would have been around 2012. Shoot, I'm trying to think. Wasn't Parise, right?
It was Parise.
Oh, it was? Okay.
It was Zach Parise. He was the last captain. A lot of people mix that up as just like, oh, it was Jamie Langenbrunner. No, it was Zach Parise.
No, I know Langenbrunner because they went the year that they were supposed to be like that juggernaut team with Parise and Kovalchuk, and then the proverbial you-know-what hit the fan. They shipped him out immediately to try to get some value for him. But my question about Hischier is this. Is he the first ever Swiss-born captain in NHL history?
That's something to look up. I'm actually not sure. I'm going to need to look this up at some point. I'm going to come back to you next week with that answer for sure, because we're already in the double wide episode right now, and we still got 2 more things to cover.
Yeah, Well,
let's go on for right now. Let's cover our general NHL weekly thoughts. Tom, I know you want to talk about Austin Matthews a little bit, so go ahead. I yield the floor to you to talk about your boy.
I know. My weekly segment seems to be Rangers and Austin Matthews, and I'm trying not to do this on purpose. I'm really trying not to.
Closet Leafs fan.
I'm not a closet Leafs fan, believe me. I was a closet Red Wings fan as a kid because the Rangers were terrible and the Red Wings always won. And they had Brendan Shanahan, who was one of my favorite players, but that's besides the point. No, just, to shield that embarrassment Saturday night of the bad conditions at Lake Tahoe, you had maybe the two best players in the game right now had big nights. Austin Matthews, 2 goals, 2 assists in the second period against the Habs. They keep trudging on. The Leafs remain the best team in hockey right now as we speak, number 1 team in the NHL, points and percentage-wise. At the other end of the great country, Canada, Connor McDavid had himself a night too. 5-point night, 3 goals, 2 assists versus their rivals in the Calgary Flames. Now, under normal circumstances here, we'd be talking about this being a potential Stanley Cup final matchup. But we're not under normal circumstances, are we? We are under these regional divisions this year. We're under the divisional play. So I guess the unfortunate part about it is the latest series between the Oilers and the Leafs could happen would be the division final, the second round. I'd still watch it. It would be really fun to watch. A lot of back and forth hockey, 80s style hockey. And we're seeing a lot of 80s style hockey this year too. With these shortened seasons, usually see teams clamp up on defense, see a lot of boring 2-1 games. This year it's like 1987 out there. 8-4, 6 goals in a period. It's like the total opposite of what we thought would happen. But anyways, yeah, just highlighting Matthews and McDavid, and a potential Oilers-Leafs series would be a hell of a lot of fun to watch if we get to that point.
Would be a lot of fun to watch. And actually, Austin Matthews is now officially on the 50 goals in 50 games hunt at the moment with his current goal tally with 18 goals on the season so far. He has been an absolute machine so far. My highlight, I never thought I'd be highlighting this player in 2021, but man, how good has Dustin Brown been for LA? I can't believe this, how good he's actually been. He's got 8 goals, 6 assists for the Kings thus far. He's really benefiting from these first-line minutes. This is a career renaissance for Dustin Brown, and he is, like I said, he's benefiting from seeing first-line minutes. I think if he ends up, going down in the lineup to the third line, I think this production does unfortunately go down. But Dustin Brown is showing that he still has a little bit of life left in this NHL career of his, and boy, oh boy, he's actually been fun to watch. And somebody I wanted to highlight here is somebody, maybe you're not considering as, kind of that comeback player of the year, but Dustin Brown, man, he's been good.
I hate that they took his C away. I really hate that they did that to him. I mean, I know it was 5 years ago now, but that was uncalled for. They should have never took his C away. He should still be the captain of that team. Just my piece.
No, I agree. It's always an awkward situation when something like that happens. So he has made the best of it, though, and he's stuck with the organization. So you know what? The bigger man prevails in that sense. So good on him. Lastly, as we always do this week, it is time for our listener question of the week. Every week, I hop on Facebook and Twitter and ask for your guys' thoughts for some of the biggest things going on around the league. And if you're lucky, your comment can be featured in an upcoming episode of I-80 Sports NHL. This question this week comes from Mike from Facebook asking, why aren't the Arizona Coyotes being investigated by the league for their operating practices? Tom, what are your thoughts to this? Why do you think Arizona is not necessarily getting investigated at the moment?
I'm actually going to be real short with this one. And the answer is it's right in front of our own faces right now. It's COVID. The reason why they're not investigating the Coyotes right now is they have so many things that they're dealing with this virus. Games being canceled, guys testing positive, ice melting at Lake Tahoe, players getting threatened by presidents of other countries, players not wanting to play in a small market anymore if they were considered the future of the league. There's just so many other issues right now that the league is dealing with that this is just kind of on the back burner. I'm sure when things get straightened out, I'm sure when things return back to normal, hopefully we're trending in that direction, that this is going to get looked at. They'll eventually look into this more and more, but it's just right now it's just not on the high list of importance for the league. And my other thing with Arizona, and this is another half-cock theory of mine, so do what you will with it. I think Arizona right now is just kind of being held as they're being held in Arizona until they can find a new home for them. And this has been a theory of mine ever since Seattle was awarded the expansion team. If the Kraken do really, really well with the attendance and with popularity, which I think they should, I could easily see the Arizona Coyotes, let me be correct, moving to Portland, Oregon. And that was actually rumored 20 years ago before Wayne Gretzky stepped in and saved the team. I could see them being moved up to Portland. That Seattle-Portland rivalry is really, really being highlighted. And you can ask Bob and Sir Alex this over on the MLS podcast in the MLS when the Sounders and the Timbers play, and I really don't like either team. It's crazy. It's intense. And I'm wondering if the NHL is taking note of that and saying, hey, if we can get a team up in Portland, can you imagine the games that we could have between Seattle and Portland? Just the craziness in the stands and the craziness on the ice that we could have. So, like I said, it's a half-cocked theory of mine. It may never happen, but it's just something to maybe be out on the look for with Arizona in the future.
Yeah, and to put my 2 cents on the matter also, the league is dealing with so much else right now between the COVID situation, the new TV deal that is rumored to be coming out within the next couple of weeks. That's going to be something that we could talk a little bit more about.
Yeah,
that's something that we're going to talk a little bit more about next week when we have more developing details on that. But the NHL is distracted at the moment. That, and the NHL also probably feels that Arizona's been penalized enough. They lost draft picks, and one of their draft picks they recanted because the person that they drafted ended up being a terrible human being. So maybe they feel like Arizona has been penalized quite a bit for what has been going on. That, and they're not one of the best teams in the league at the moment. If they penalize them further, this could mean that this is a team that will need to relocate. It won't be a matter of if, it'll be a matter of will. And maybe they're going late of just like, all right, get your stuff together, figure it out, so that way you still have a team in Arizona. That way we don't have to move you. This could be just that warning sign of like, we're being nice to you. Figure it out. So, in short, that's basically why Arizona is not necessarily being investigated by the league. Mike, thank you so much for your question. And for those listeners out there that want their questions highlighted, well, make sure that you ask your questions. You never know until you ask. So your question can be highlighted in a future NHL video. But that's going to just about do it for us here at I-80 Sports NHL. Do you agree with our takes on everything that we talked about today, which this was quite the double wide episode. So also, I do want to highlight again, thank you so much to alternate.com, and make sure to hit up their website. Make sure that if you're able to give and donate to them, please make sure to do. It's a great organization, and anything helps for them. It's for a great cause, and it's for a cause that supersedes hockey and is even bigger than hockey in general. So please make sure that you are able to donate. You could change somebody's life. And thank you again for joining us. Make sure you hit up our newly renovated i80sports.com, which if you like this shirt right here, and if you need to stay warm in the snowy New Jersey weather right now, make sure you hit up our shop. St. Paddy's Day is closely approaching, which we've got some new merch for St. Paddy's Day, so that way you can party in style. Make sure that you hit up i80sports.com, hit up the shop for all of your i80 Sports merch. And of course, make sure you hit us up on Twitter at i80_sportsNHL. We try to drop some different tweets throughout the day and throughout the week. So make sure that you follow us for all of the news that breaks as it comes in. I'm Brian. He's been Tom. I finally got the direction right.
Yeah.
I'm Brian. He's Tom. This has been I-80 Sports NHL.